Hello and a very warm welcome back to HuwsNursery, and I've got an awesome video for you lined up today because James Prigioni is here to give us 10 tips on how we can transform a lawn into an abundant and productive forest garden. So I really hope you enjoy it.
What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from the US. I'm excited to bring you this one today and thankful for the opportunity to do a collaboration with my friend Hugh over at HuwsNursery. I think I've been watching Hugh's channel for I guess over 5 years now, so to be able to come together is truly a blessing. I hope you gained some value from this video and maybe learned something new. Let's go! Right now, I'm in my food forest garden, surrounded by all different kind of edible plants and also functional ones. Everything in this garden has a purpose. To the untrained eye, it may seem messy, but it's all by design. Like I said, this is a food forest. We look out at nature, at a natural forest, and copy it. So today, I want to show you how you can go from a lawn to a food forest in 10 tips. The first tip to turning your lawn to a food forest is choosing the right site and to know your zone. If you're like me though, and you don't have a lot of space, you've got a small allotment, then you might only have one place to put it. But if you can choose, I would say a good location is an area where you can get the most sun. As long as you don't live in like a desert area, because you can always make shade, but you can't make more sun. Knowing what growing zone you're in is also important because this will dictate what you can and can't grow. You don't want to be spending time and money on things that won't grow properly in your location. Now that we've got site selection out of the way, let's move on to some of the nitty-gritty. Number 2 is to realize that you're creating a system. And I use the word system because we want a garden like this where all parts work together to serve one function, all one unit. And this system is also, we're looking to create is sustainable and self-replicating. What I mean by sustainable is a system that actually produces more energy in its lifetime than it takes to create and maintain. So we're hitting that right on the nose. When you're creating this kind of system, you really need to work with nature. That's one of the main things. You must have that philosophy because you've got to have the most kind of life in here. And if you use different kinds of pesticides and herbicides, that will kill a lot of your life. The third tip for taking your lawn to a food forest is to let the natural forest be the teacher. That's the guide. And the reason we do that is because you can just look locally around you. If you have a natural forest, just go out there, look at it. Realize how big it is, how productive it is, how fertile it is. No one takes care of that. No one waters it. So that's really a beautiful model. High in fertility, high in production, and that's something we're looking to create in our garden. But we don't just plant oak trees and things in a natural forest. We replace these elements with food things, productive things, stuff we want to grow. So how do we take what we learned from observing a natural forest and apply that to our garden? That's where we get into tip number 4. And what that has to do with is understanding that all natural forests have 7 layers. What are they and how can we use them? Well, the first one is a canopy tree. Here in our garden, as a canopy tree, we use a mulberry tree, a big tree up there. Next is a sub-canopy tree. For those, we choose to use things like apples, pears, and even peaches. Third is going to be your bush layer. For these, we like to use plants like raspberries and blueberries. Next up is going to be your herbaceous. For herbaceous, I like planting tomatoes and peppers, usually a lot of different annuals. After that, we're going to go with the ground cover. And my favorite ground cover is strawberries because they're delicious and you can get multiple harvests on certain varieties. Then we've got the creepers and the climbers. For those, we like using grapes. Grapes are our favorite and we love making jellies and all different kinds of things with those. Lastly is going to be your root crop. For these, we love planting things like carrots and horseradish. Depending on your location, these things might be different, but it's all about having those different layers. Because if you don't plant something there, something else will probably replace it. And most likely it's going to be a weed. Or you want to have that nice thick mulch down so you don't have any weeds coming up. The 7 layers of a natural forest, that's not the only thing that we can learn from and apply to our garden. One of the most important and the things that was almost an epiphany for me was understanding how a forest was so productive, how the trees got so big. The reason they did was because the support of the ground, the forest floor. So what you want to do is create your own forest floor. If you want a big forest, that's what's going to get you there. In my opinion, nothing's going to give you the forest floor better than a thick woodchip mulch. The idea, I believe, is to create that mature forest floor. That's what's going to give you a food forest quicker. In the past, I started off by just growing annuals, trying to successively use annuals to fertilize the area where I wanted to grow a food forest, but then I realized that's not the way to do it. You want to use the wood chips. A lot of these wood chips are basically, 30, 40-year-old trees, and all that solar energy condensed together. We're putting that down, that's fertilizing the ground. Let's dig down here and find out why we want to use these wood chips. As I start digging down here, you'll notice it's already getting moist. We haven't had rain here for, I guess, over a week now. It's been dry. This is just the time of year that it is. And you'll notice the wood chips retain moisture. It brings in life. One of the most common questions I get, and you may be asking yourself, are these wood chips going to tie up nitrogen in the soil? Nope, they're not. And whatever wood chips you use will be fine. Only problems I see with wood chips have to do with application. If you take these wood chips and you layer them on your soil, that's fine. They're going to be great. But if you try to mix these into the soil, you're going to create a soil stomachache. You're going to acidify your soil, and you might even tie up some nitrogen. But layering is the way to go. Another reason we like to use wood chips is because they're constantly breaking down. Every year your soil is going to get more fertile. One thing you might wonder though is it going to tie up nitrogen? Like I said, it's all based on application, so you don't have to worry about that. What's actually going to break down your wood chips are going to be the fungus. The fungus are truly the teeth of the forest. So these wood chips are going to create a heavily dominated fungal soil. Trees, woody species, love fungal dominated soil. And our plants, like our herbaceous annuals, they like more of a bacteria dominated soil. The sixth tip to starting a successful food forest has to do with you. It has to do with doing your research locally, which is very important. You need to find out what trees do well where you live. For instance, in my location, pears do excellent with no help at all. So I make sure that pears are foundational in here to make sure I always get a good harvest. Next is to choose trees that have good disease resistance. So for instance, I live in a location in New Jersey where we have high humidity. Because of this, we can have issues with peach leaf curl. So I make sure when I order varieties that I get ones that are disease resistant to peach leaf curl. This will automatically put you ahead of the game and could very much save you 5 to 7 years. The seventh tip is to buy Bareroot trees from reputable companies. I know it's tempting to go to a local big box store to get like a Red Delicious or a common tree that they have locally that's potted, that's big, that looks like it's gonna fruit maybe even this coming year. But in my opinion, please don't let those things deceive you. A lot of times those trees are not taken care of well, and they're often root bound because the people taking care of those trees, they're not specialized like those people at your nursery. So again, a reputable company, Bareroot, that'll save you time too. The eighth step to starting a successful food forest has to do with learning proper pruning techniques. The reason for this is because once you put your trees in, your Bareroot trees, if you use proper pruning techniques, this will help you get your tree larger and to production even quicker. And also, even things like raspberries, if you know proper techniques, this will boost your production heavily. So right here, I've got a young peach tree, one that I just put in last year. This is Bareroot, and when I planted it, I pruned it down heavily. Now, it allowed it to focus on the root, and now after the roots have been big, healthy, good growth, the top's looking excellent. This is a tree we're hoping for big things in the future. Because it's disease resistant, we pruned it correctly, and we also planted it correctly. Right now, I'm standing in a section, this is a new food forest. I just put this in the fall. You can see we've got the wood chips thick. We put Bareroot trees in, we put the right varieties in. And this food forest, I believe, is going to be even more successful than my previous one because I learned so much from it. One thing I want to encourage you guys about is to learn from every mistake. There are no such thing as failure because with every failure comes with it the seed of an equivalent success. The ninth step to starting and growing a successful food forest is to observe, to refine, and to react. You'll notice that when you grow a garden like this, it's never ending. You don't just put it in once and it's done. Instead, every time we're going out here, we're learning something new. Maybe we're adding something. It could get a little expensive if you want to do it all in the first year, especially if you want to get the good varieties. One thing you'll notice we didn't talk too much about is plant spacing. That's really a personal preference. If you have enough space, I suggest giving trees basically as much space as you can give them. You can always fill the areas in between. But one thing we do like doing is overplanting. This way we can always take things out. For instance, if you plant 3 fruit trees where one person would plant 1, 5 years down the road, if only one of them looks good, you're right. You can get rid of 2, you still got 1. But if you only planted that 1, you're stuck with it. Observation can be one of our greatest tools as a gardener, but it's something that takes time to actually learn. You've got to get out there every single day. If you possibly can, I suggest walking your garden maybe twice a day, getting a feel for everything, because your plants will communicate with you. I'm not saying they're going to speak to you, but they'll let you know when they need some water, or they need maybe a little added nutrition before the wood chips have broken down enough and fertilized. So going out there every day, learning how to observe is important. And once you develop that skill, you'll be able to walk out to your garden and know immediately if something needs to change or not. Because before you change things, you must exercise patience. The 10th and final step is to have faith and persistence. You must have faith if you want to go from something like a lawn like this, like the whole backyard was, to a 1-year-old food forest, and then into a 6-year-old one. High production. That's not going to happen overnight. That's why you need the persistence and that faith. The first year, you can see, we're getting a lot of annual production. We're not getting huge fruit production. But the persistence of sticking with it every year and having faith that it will work is huge, because like I mentioned before, every year your ground will get more fertile. Your fruit production will get higher, because this is a perennial system. Having a perennial mindset in the form of gardening is something that's going to save your back and that's going to support you more every year as you get older. If you're interested in this form of gardening and you want to start your own food forest, I've got actually a whole series, phase 1 through 7, and it's continuing, of how to start a food forest. Exactly how we put this one in here. And you don't need a lot of space to start a food forest. You can even start a small one. It's all about kind of working with nature, looking at a forest, and let that be the teacher, learning from that. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I just wanted to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to watch this video. And I also want to thank Hugh for giving this opportunity. It is so much fun. If you haven't noticed, gardening is my passion. Not only gardening though, this form, food forestry, this is what I live to do. And to be able to bring you my passion, I just feel honored. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button on Hugh's channel, because I know he's always putting out good content. Check out our channel too, the gardening channel with James Prigioni. Hit that subscribe button on both. Hit the notification bell so every time we upload, you guys know. Check us out on Steam It too, because we love posting on there. I hope I get to see you all soon. James Prigioni is out.